Welcome to 0 Point Reviews with Jeff and Kev, where no point is irrelevant. No points are taken, nor are they given, but yet they are. And there is definitely no point not to revisit these movies. This time we're doing 1979, Ridley Scott's Alien. Kevin, we clearly didn't see this in movie theaters. I was probably about 2 years old at the time. How old were you when you did not see this movie?
-1. I was what they'd call a swimmer, as it were.
You're still working your way up.
I was hanging out in my first apartment still. With the 2 ballrooms.
Next to the chain smokers and the druggies next door.
The junkies.
The junkies.
Actually, my mom was a chain smoker. Anyway.
Well, to the movie's credit, they did not hide the fact that they were smoking cigarettes and having a good old time once they woke up.
Yeah, one of the things that I had to take note of is when I was doing all the images and collecting all the stock footage, I had a really time finding things that were like extraordinarily silly or something to make fun of because of how ordinary and grounded this movie is.
Yeah, even I like to do my video clips, and I was having issues trying to capture things, and even when I was trying to capture them, I'm like, there's nothing really to make fun of. There's some fun lines, but nothing that's like a quippy one-liner or anything like that. Like you had asked me about privately, well, during the day, like, there's not much to really like quote about this movie. I'm like, there's quotable lines, but it's not constructed like an 80s action movie because this is still before those really took off.
Yeah, and then we realized that "Get away from her, you bitch" wasn't that famous line. It was a callback to "Mother, you bitch."
Yep. Because of the main artificial intelligence that was in control of the ship.
Yes, which was from a time before computers actually had a purpose other than blinking lights.
I mean, it was dope. I love this room. It was clearly like a little bit of an homage to like HAL, but without being anything like it.
That's kind of the way I interpreted it too.
Yeah.
And Mother is her own thing. Like, is she? Do we know it's Wayland-Yutani at this point, or is it just called The Company?
It's called The Company, but they do have like the patches on their uniforms. I mean, I'm wearing one of the shirts right now. Better worlds, baby. But their logo is a little more stretched out, thin, and squished. But it does have this kind of like wider logo on it. I think in the next one is when they officially give it a name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because Burke's really pushing that one.
Yeah. I mean, if it was in this movie, I probably might have missed it, but I've never noticed it any of the times I've ever watched this movie, period.
I only noticed one logo in the entire flick, but it was all over the place. So, I mean, I'm glad they had a sponsor. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, we should probably thank tonight's non-sponsor, Purina Pet Chow. Your pet, our pie. Fuck, I fucked it up again.
Click it, people. Put it on Twitter.
2 weeks in a row. Woo!
Probably not sponsored by Purina. Your pet, alien. Our passion.
Your science project. It's all the same.
Hill's Science Project.
Hills. For the large alien breeds.
Yeah. Besides, we really don't get to dogs until Alien 3 anyway.
Which is funny because they call it the Rhino Alien. Like the toys, I believe, were called the Rhino Alien. And I'm
okay.
But it was a dog. All right.
Gestated in a dog. Oh, well. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the original, the classic, the first one, because without this one, we would not have ever gotten a franchise or even a sequel that people like more than this first one. I don't understand that. I like this one more, but without this one, there is no franchise, period.
That's true. Now, in that regard, when did you first see this?
Ooh, I want to say video store years, probably junior high. I think my actual introduction was through Aliens, the second one by James Cameron. and then I went back and I watched the first one, and the first one terrified me more than the second one did. So the first one has a more of an impression on me. So, but I remembered watching the second one, and then I went and I got the first one in pretty short order. So probably about the same freaking weekend, because at that time my mom and I lived like right down the street from the video store. So it was pretty easy to slink on over there. So I was
That's
probably, middle schoolish.
I think it was about the same for me, probably
Mhm.
around 13ish or so, 12, 13ish.
Yeah, that's
Um, Yeah, and I saw Aliens first also. So that I had a very adverse effect, like very contrary to what you had. When I saw this a couple of years after the fact, I was very bored. Like
You're
there
fired. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it took me like several years to even want to watch this one again compared to Aliens. And then Alien 3 was so fucking horrible, I never wanted to watch that again. So I just thought Aliens for the longest time was like the coolest sci-fi movie that ever was. I'm older now, much wiser, and I could watch this and appreciate it for what it is now.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not Aliens at all. Two different types of movies. This is a horror film. Aliens is an action flick.
Yeah, there's still horror elements in Aliens, and we'll get into that next week because this is now officially Alien Month now that we got past Ghoulies, and we're going to continue on this train until we get through maybe Resurrection. We don't know. Very well could be.
If you're not sick of it after that.
We're not going beyond that at the minimum, though. But
what he's saying is no AVP.
Yep. And no Prometheus, no Covenant.
Oh no. But golly, this one, it was so much more grounded. It felt nothing like Aliens. Aliens, you had the colonial Marines, they had weapons, they were going to go fight these things. This movie is basically a haunted house in space. And I know that sounds weird, but like, you have moments like this where they don't know where the alien is and they're looking up, down, around.
Where the fuck did this thing go?
Yeah, and there's only so many places that it could be. And there's no music during most of these scenes when they're looking. Jerry Goldsmith wrote a wonderful score for this, but it's not used during the moments of like suspense and stuff like that. They use pure silence and breathing for the suspense.
Which is great. The music kicks in precisely when it's needed to. And it's very well crafted and placed in the movie, in my opinion.
Agreed. More so than the second one, I think. Because again, the second one just needed to get you pumped, ready to go, like more popcorn.
Fuck shit up, let's go.
Yeah. This one had a bit more of a story to it as far as the beginning of this great franchise that it would become.
Yes.
But they didn't have any intention of making it a franchise. Like they were just making a rando movie.
Well, yeah, it even took us like nearly 30 minutes to see like an alien ship. And then to go in there and see what was going on and to get attacked. And then it was like almost about an hour in or about 55 minutes before we actually saw the creature rolling around, screwing shit up.
Yeah, but before we talk about that, what do we ever find out what the fuck this guy is?
The space jockey. If we acknowledge Prometheus, we do. If we do not, nope, we never did.
All right, because I vaguely remember from Prometheus, but I hated that movie so much that the only part I remember is the captain playing the squeeze box. So,
Eventually, if you acknowledge Prometheus, it answers it. But if you don't, they never get into it with any of the other sequels. It's just largely left as a mystery. I actually like that aspect of this movie where they don't answer everything. They allow you to kind of fill in the blanks yourself if you want to. I know some people would call that a plot hole. No, I call that intent. They did this on purpose so you could focus more on the actual story of the actual alien creature that killed that thing is now their problem.
Yes, because that thing is like 3 times the size of a normal human being.
Correct.
And something blew out of its fucking chest.
Yeah.
The hole was about as big as, each one of the crew members that were on the ship.
This is true.
But one of the things on the ship that was really neat, and they cut it out from the rest of the franchise, is there was a laser mist, a reactive laser mist over the hive or the eggs. And the eggs would move whenever he put his hands through the laser mist.
Yeah.
Really neat. And it was something that could have been explained in Aliens, but I think that was just one of those things where Jim Cameron's like, meh, and just said, screw it.
Yeah, he basically did what he did with the Piranha franchise. He took something that was a horror movie and made it action. He also did that with his own franchise, The Terminator, where the first one's basically a horror movie, and then he takes the second one, he makes it an action movie. That's what he did with Alien and to Aliens.
Titanic 2 is going to be fucking lit then.
Yeah, dude, let's fucking go. I'm king of the world.
Come up out of the sea.
Finish him.
It's Free Willy. I forgive Jim Cameron for a lot of things, but Titanic's not one of them. Avatar's not one of them.
No.
That's a whole other 0 point. These guys.
We're not getting into that named franchise. So.
Yeah. Now, where they did start off with a lot of the mythology here was the eggs that you see him looking down upon. And the neat part here is when he shines his light on them, you could actually see the face hugger moving around inside.
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, it tries to move away from the light. And you're like, oh, neat. And then the scene gets...
Kevin.
Just go bye-bye.
Just a bother.
You see him looking over the opened egg, and then all of a sudden you hear this loud scream as it pops out on his face, and then nothing for several seconds.
Yeah.
Like vacant scenes that you'd already, or places that you'd already seen in the ship, completely silent, no life whatsoever. And you're just sitting there in silence with the willies like, oh God, because you just saw this horrible sight.
Yes.
Silence. Such a fucking useful. It was so good.
Well, in space, no one can hear you scream.
That's true. And I guess technically LV-427 is a planet that's out in space. So, and also I think Ash was kind of the not cyborg, the android was kind of tinkering with everyone's communications at the same time too.
Yeah. Which you don't end up figuring out until a little bit later into the movie that he's actually working against everybody.
Yeah, he's kind
they
of...
don't even like hint at it for a while either. It just they kind of frame things a little bit like something's off about him. And then you gradually get to the point where something's really wrong with him, especially when he allows everybody onto the ship. At that point, almost us as the audience find out, what is that guy up to? Yeah, because Ripley was like absolutely adamant, nobody's coming on this fucking ship.
Yeah, and she was in charge.
Yeah.
And Ripley is not a damsel in distress in any one of these movies. And they established that very early in this film. She is number 2 in command, and she earned that right. Or she earned that place.
Number 3. Because when 2 of the others are off the ship, she's then in charge.
Oh, okay. So was Ash number 2 because he was from the company?
No, Ash was the chief science officer. He didn't hold rank. It was the captain, Dallas, and then one of the other people that was off the ship. I think it was the guy who was attacked. His name escapes me with the chest burster.
Kane.
Yeah, when they are off the ship, she is in charge. So she's number 3.
Okay. And then that poor guy, like the face hugger, they don't show this anymore either in the franchise. It managed to get through 2 inches of plexiglass without being cut to latch onto his face.
Melted right the fuck through.
Yeah, like that's terrifying to see the aftermath is one thing, but then to go back and think about it, use your imagination, that's where the terror really begins.
Yeah, they make it really unsettling really quick without being too graphic.
Yes, and that was one of the neat things about this picture is it is a horror film. I believe it was rated R
Yes.
for the time, but it was able to be put on TV. There was not a whole lot of blood whatsoever.
They just had to edit swearing, I believe, for the most part.
Yeah.
There's
And I
a
want
lot of that.
to Parker's cool. He's got the best line, and he is the smartest fucking person in the whole movie. And they don't mention that. Like the mechanic is the smartest person there because he's asking legitimate questions. Why don't they freeze him? I don't know. Hey, why don't they freeze him? Hey, why don't y'all freeze him?
Well, I also like it when Harry Dean Stanton's characters like tell him 17 hours for how long it'll take to fix this, and within like a split second, he's like, "Yeah, it's gonna take like 25 hours to fix this." He completely ignores the other guy, and he's like, "No, we're gonna make this sound completely fucking ridiculous." 25. Oh shit! Now they're gonna send her down there. Fuck.
The three of them bicker like family. It was so funny.
Yeah, definitely you felt that connection to the crew and each of the characters. That's what I like about like the first part of this movie. And I know that's where a lot of people feel like the movie's too slow. It takes too long to get to the alien and the bigger picture of the movie. No, I think that's very important to establish. This is constructed like a movie from the 70s, where you take your time building up. And movies these days could take a little bit of a learner's course in how to do that by watching a movie such as Alien, because this is the perfect example of how you build up your characters, then you get to your story, then you go crazy in the last third.
Yeah, right. You know, go balls out. You don't have to throw every single concept out there, but you have a story building to that climax and that conclusion. You're right. Not a lot of movies do that anymore. The fourth movie doesn't do that. Like there is no buildup whatsoever. It just starts.
Yep. Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley has been cloned, everybody. Spoiler alert.
Yep. That was one of the things in the third movie. I was like, and I'm out. This is stupid.
I'm out. Peace out.
Again, I was a very finicky kid. But
Yeah.
this, the parts that were on TV that let it go so long, again, that's one of those things where I could look back on it now as an adult and appreciate it so much more because you could understand it better as an adult. You understand, like you said, this is a work crew that's on this ship together 24/7 for months at a time.
Right.
They hang out and chill together like they have to. They're family. They have to get along one way or the other. So, I mean, that part is really interesting. And then it throws the alien into the mix.
Right.
So that was one of the brilliant parts of the movie.
Yep. And the other part was, Kevin, we need to talk about our bonus situation.
The bonus situation.
Yep.
That was
the money
messed
going to
up.
pay us for this shit? Well, as part of your contract, the hell it is. Per section, blah, yada, yada, yada. You will go or you do not get your shares. All right, when do we go?
When we go. What you said, Ash kind of acts a little goofy at first. And then once the alien gets on board, you start seeing him have moments like this.
Yeah.
Where he's watching Cain throughout the entire Last Supper. And that's what I call that scene, is the Last Supper.
Oh, yeah.
Because they should have just frozen him or frozen everybody and gone home. But he wanted to have dinner. Oh, God, I'm hungry. Let's have dinner first.
Yep.
Had they not had dinner, he would have been frozen. They would have gotten back to Earth. There would have been an AVP movie much sooner.
It very well could be. But they also get into this kind of point with Prometheus and Covenant, where they make David to be the synthetic guy who's all about like experimenting, like, you know, Ash did in this particular movie. It was supposed to be a bit of a callback. It's just that they went off the rails in Covenant. But you could see that origin kind of here. Is he working for the company? Is he kind of doing his own little thing? Most of us pretty much would collect that he's working for the company. He's just ensuring that the alien gets there in full form, and everybody else is completely expendable.
That and the fact that he wanted it on the ship, not frozen, so the ship was a controlled experiment zone. No outside forces can hamper this experiment in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So he, with no fear for his life whatsoever, as he doesn't have one, is like, this is his fucking time. Like, this is science. All right.
We're scientificing.
Yeah. And as all scientific peoples are, you know, they're mad. They're crazy. They try to take over the world.
I wonder what Bill Nye Science Guy would think about this. Or Mythbusters.
He would have said, put your safety glasses on first, kids. But when I showed this part here, one of the things about Ian Holm, once Ash starts to go crazy, is his head doesn't move. His eyes do. Like he's watching Kane out the side of his eyes, or he'll watch Ripley, but his head never moves. It's like a bird hunting. And it's eerie as shit. It's just like the silence, how they have that eerie use of silence. It's an eerie use of facial action.
The only thing that was missing was him having a bucket of popcorn going, yeah, what's going to happen next?
No shit. Of course, the next thing that happens is the little thing jumps out of Kane and takes off like a bat out of hell.
And properly spoofed in Spaceballs.
Yes.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my good time gal.
Send me a kiss by wire. Anyway.
Yeah. Which just gives credence to this movie being influential across all sorts of spectrums of science fiction after it came out.
Yeah, I don't know how well respected it was at the time, but it certainly gained its cult status very quickly. I do remember that.
I want to say it did pretty well at the box office. I can always check on that.
$1 or $2.
We'll see.
Riveting TV, kids.
Yes. Talk about something, Kevin.
Okay. Let's see. So the first time we see the alien here, it's taken off like a bat out of hell. They all have to go find the alien, which is now the fun part of the movie. The entire second act is them walking through the haunted house trying to find the monster.
Yeah.
And again, you see a lot of moments like this where they're looking up, down, all around. They have no weapons whatsoever. Everything is like makeshift. So I don't know what this little magic glow pin was, but he was like holding it up to the face hugger like it was going to save Ripley somehow. And I'm like, Expecto Patronus?
Expecto Patronus.
Like, what's it going to do?
Wingardium Leviosa.
That having been said, there's this great scene where the three of them, the two engineers and Ripley, are trying to find this damn thing with a taser and a net. Beautiful. They find the cat, Jonesy, takes off running. And Harry Dean Stanton goes, oh, I'll go get him. Goes off by himself.
Yeah.
So you know what's going to happen. And he goes into their cargo hold, which has chains.
Goddamn cat.
Yeah, it looks like it's from Hellraiser. There's chains hanging down from the ceiling everywhere and water dripping down from the chains in the ceiling. And everything is moving around and it's all dark and you don't notice the alien right in front of your fucking face.
Yep, pretty much. Hide in plain sight, bro.
Yes, and they do that more than once in this movie, and they get you every single goddamn time.
Oh my god, I've seen this movie so many times, but two or three particular scenes get me every time because of how the timing works on them.
The timing, the acting, Lambert, when she starts panicking, Dallas is in the air vents trying to find the damn thing, and she's telling him, it's right on you, it's right on you, it's right on you, and like left or right, and she just keeps freaking out saying the same goddamn thing until he gets killed.
Yep.
But it was her repetition and screaming getting louder and louder and louder. Like, it made you freak out for him.
Yeah, pretty much. And the one that usually gets me, and I know jump scares usually don't get me, even on like older movies where I've seen them enough times, is the one at the very end of the movie where Ripley's escaped on the shuttle and she's punching in things on the computer, and all of a sudden the hand drops out from the alien creature, and you realize, yep, bingo. That the damn thing's laying right there because it just matched right in with everything. And
Yes.
I know what's coming every freaking time, but it always gets me. I don't know if it's the music or I'm always trying to guess, like, it's going to be this second. Oh, and then it's like the next split second later. And so I can never really judge. And that just gets me every time. And there's other moments in the movie that are like that too. And I got to give the movie props. Like, to catch me, that's impressive. And even after I've seen the movie so many times,
It's
keep
fun.
coming back for more.
Yeah, and it's fun at this point because now we could look at it and be like, all right, was he there the whole time? It's like watching Insidious, where the ghost was standing in the corner and the Rose Byrne walks right past it like 2 or 3 times and you don't notice it until it's dancing and you're like, yeah. This thing, the same thing. It's hanging from the ceiling. It's right there on the wall, right in front of you. One of the ways that I always like to describe the xenomorphs were like bees or ants. They have that colony and hive mentality. And I just lost my own goddamn point there. Oh, they're like insects. They will sit and camouflage into things until they're ready to attack. And this thing was just the same. And outside of it being very bulky, it doesn't look anything like the way they do in the rest of the franchise. It's still very menacing. Like, you don't really see him standing up and moving, except for one scene that I wish they would have cut out, and that's when it looks like the alien's kind of doing the robot as they're trying to move it.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the suit, they didn't have the mobility, and they had like a 7-foot tall actor that was willing to be in this ginormous rubber suit for hours upon end.
Hey, practical effects all the way, man. If you got to get a 7-foot tall person for a role, hey, somebody just got a sweet job that people will remember forever.
This was just before Kevin Peter Hall got into the business. Bless his heart.
Yeah, or Derek Mears later as Jason in the 2009 remake, or Swamp Thing in the TV show, which is on our podcast on this channel. Go check it out.
It's true. The jump scare that got me, like I talked about it, was Lambert screaming at Dallas.
Yeah.
And you see this part here where it just like jumps out and reaches out for him. And you don't see the death. So again, it's one of those things where it's like, this earned a hard R for its suspense and mental abuse that it does to the audience.
It's very acute.
Yeah. And the saliva on the mouth dripping as it's hissing at you.
Iconic look that is borrowed throughout the entire franchise for the rest of time. Yes.
Done perfectly by Brad Dourif in the 4th movie. I'm sorry, I know you don't like the 4th movie, but oh man, when he's teasing the son, or when he's teasing the xenomorphs, you're just like, oh, he's gonna get fucked up.
Yep. There are good moments in that movie, but
he was managing to look just as scary as they were, showing his teeth and stuff like that. But they have that saliva. It's just, they're gross. Silicone based.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I do also, I 0-pointed again. I love their idea initially to get him to the airlock and then blow it out. And they just like left the middle of the room empty there, waiting for it to show up. Like, did you really think it was going to?
Yeah, like what gave you that impression that you could, they were talking about closing all the doors, forcing it to go that way, but it had never been in that big of a wide open space with that much light before.
Yeah, like even in the kitchen where it hatched wasn't that bright. So, I mean, the xenomorphs, they use shadow very well, and well, they use it as an ally to the point. If you've ever played any of the Alien video games, that's one of the things. If you go into the shadows, you're not seen at all. Like you could NPC characters, the humans or whatever, will walk past you left and right, and as long as you're in a shadow, they won't see you until you're ready to pounce.
Let's fucking go. I mean, I'm playing Alien Isolation, which is kind of a follow-up to this movie, and I'm enjoying it. I would like to make some more progress, but I'm about to take a trip, so I have to play that
Yeah,
when I get back.
I can't talk about what I'm playing because that'll be a whole other 0 Point. So
That's okay.
I keep burping. Sorry, it's butterbeer.
But yeah.
I know it's Harry Potter night when we're talking about Alien.
Yeah, well, we were talking about different cuts earlier before we got onto the stream here, because we didn't really talk about like which version we should be watching for this review.
That's
And
right.
I ended up apparently watching the theatrical version because I wasn't paying attention. I just hit play. Kevin watched the director's cut. So some of what I'm feeling is based off of the original version that just about everybody else saw in the theaters. And what we saw for years until we got a director's cut from Ridley.
Yeah, I watched like 30 minutes, I think, of the theatrical cut, and then I was like, oh, because I think I was watching it on Hulu or something like that.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, there's a fucking director's cut. God damn. So then I went and got the DVDs and just restarted.
Okay. Yeah, I completely forgot, but I already like watched the movie, and I'm like, well, I would like to rewatch it again, but I got other things to do.
There are 9 discs in the Alien Quadrilogy DVD set, and this mostly won't come out because of the green screen, but it's a beautiful set. It's a nice set. They did a lot of good work on it with the special features and stuff. But
I have the Blu-ray version of that over here. The DVD set's at my dad's house for him to watch. So
cool. Opening it up so many times to get all 9 discs spread out, like
it's
this
nuts.
This thing's like 6 feet wide when you open it up. It's cool.
Yeah, pretty rad. I always really liked that set, actually. That's why I gave that one to my dad, and years later, I'm like, oh, I need to get these movies back in the collection. Oh, the Blu-ray's out. Boom, bought it.
That's cool. I mean, I like the box, though, and I know it doesn't
The box
matter.
is great. And it's the first one to ever coin the term quadrilogy in my memory banks. I don't know if that's correct or incorrect. If it's not correct, somebody in the chat will correct us or in our comments below. But I love the fact that, you know, the core 4 movies are in one nice little spot with director's cuts and all these special features. And I really want to go through and actually listen to like the commentary track for the original one here, because I've never actually done that. I've listened to everybody else's except for the original. Now I really want to get into doing that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think so, because Ridley Scott, like, he's interesting to listen to. He is a smart guy.
Yeah.
The little intro that he gives for the director's edition, he explains all the different cuts that they made and why. And you're just kind of like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then as you and I just figured out when we were doing the math, they cut 6 minutes out of the film to make it neater and more concise, so they could add 5 minutes in.
So the director's cut is 1 minute shorter than the theatrical version.
Yes. And on top of that, it kind of fucks the mythos up a little bit. What happens is in the director's cut is Ripley's looking for Dallas and everybody else, and all she has is a flamethrower to like light up the darkened room.
Right.
And she finds in this one hall all of the crew alive up on the wall, cocooned, as you see them in Alien. And
Cocoon
Dallas
does not come out for another few more years. Let's just be clear about that.
it was not nearly as cool as this,
I know.
despite the goot.
It would have been fun to see him in this movie.
Kinda, yeah. He would have been another good Burke, but I don't want to hate Steve Guttenberg either. So,
Nah.
it's the goot. That's next week's problem. Fuck Burke.
It will be.
I lost it again. I got pissed off at Burke.
Well, we were talking about the different cuts and going through the scene and seeing Tom Skerritt and everybody hoisted up on a wall.
Right. So that happens when they're being put up for harvest, basically, to be incubators for the facehuggers.
Yeah.
There was no queen on this ship, so there was really no eggs and no reason to put the things or put the humans up on the wall. Like, they would have been eaten, just randomly killed. So it doesn't really make sense, and I'm okay with it not being in the theatrical version. And it's also just really bad acting on Tom Skerritt's part, where he doesn't open his eyes. They've got him all slimy and stuff. He's going, kill me. Kill me. It's like, will someone please just shoot the guy so he stops saying it? Please.
And so he can get to catering as fast as possible, because I'm sure there's a cold beer with his name on it.
Right. And so then, yeah, she torches his ass, and it was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But it just didn't need to be. Not
No, I actually felt like the theatrical version was very well paced. I know the director's cut feels it's a little bit quicker and to the point, but this is one of those rare times where I feel like both have good and bad to it. But I tend to prefer the theatrical on this one, because that's the movie that was made on $11 million and scored over $100 million on that budget. And it was a huge success when it came out. So can't knock it.
I'm surprised they didn't call for a sequel sooner then.
Well, they probably wanted to, but there might have been some issues with like either Dan O'Bannon or, who had the rights, the willingness, if really wanted to come back and do it or not. Because I think he was getting wrapped up in other movies he wanted to be making. Eventually, he'd be working on like, I don't know when Legend came out, but like we were coming up on Blade Runner in the next few years. I'm sure he was never a franchise guy. I don't think he really wanted to come back until like years later, when they basically opened the checkbook and he's like, okay, I'm kind of interested now for Prometheus. But after Prometheus, they basically shit-canned his idea for a trilogy anyway.
Thank you, Fox. It was not good. I didn't enjoy Prometheus at all. Again, other than the part where the captain's, playing the squeeze box. Love the one you're with. Beyond that.
But as far as like this goes, I feel like this is one of Ridley's best movies he's ever done. That might be a hot take for some people. He's done some really good movies. This is easily my favorite of his, outside of possibly Gladiator. But I know Gladiator is a very different kind of film, and I love that all the same too. But this has got to be my favorite Ridley Scott film, followed probably by Blade Runner and then Gladiator.
Oh, golly.
I know.
I would probably say this, Gladiator, and then Legend. That's probably my top three.
I can't say Legend because I've never seen it all the way through in one sitting.
I have, just not since my voice changed or anything like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Before my tweens.
With your twang.
My twang. Before my twang had anything. Oh, that was a cheap pun. Anyway.
Very punny, Kevin. But, this is such a fun movie. I would love to see this on the big screen at a theater. So hopefully when we come up on an anniversary for this movie, I don't know. This could be a year for it, but I don't know if they'll do it because this is now owned by Disney.
Which means, of course, the Alien Queen is a Disney princess now.
Boom.
Take that, Elsa.
Hashtag Alien Queen Disney Princess.
Let it go.
Watch out, Maleficent bitch. Bitch is back.
Another good part, or another good thing that this movie did, we saw it here, was Ripley bending over to get everything going before she gets frozen. And then she does see the hand come out, and she tries to hide from it because it's taking its sweet-ass time to get out of this area here.
It got cozy. It was ready for a trip. It had its snacks. It was ready to roll and party. It was taking a nap. Don't wake the sleeping alien.
But then the next shot was so expletive. You're just kind of like, really, Ridley? Really? Let's just get right up in there if we can.
Ass shots before Star Wars made it famous in Ahsoka.
They did that in Ashoka? Yay, ass shots. Anyway. That got
Well,
me
it was
lost.
showing her getting into a confined space and what she had to do to hide from the alien and then, sneak her way into a suit and then shoot it at the airlock like the original plan was.
Yes. Without the big mouse trap. This was so hard to get a good shot because there isn't a good shot of it in the thruster just as it starts to like ignite.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good shot for it. It was a very dramatic shot, but it was wet, it was bright, so you couldn't see the alien at the same time. But it was really neat to see her looking out the window just to make sure that it got fucking nuked.
And off her fucking ship.
Yeah, like out of her hair forever. And she's relaxed that she and Jonesy just survived the movie. Till she wakes up.
Final girl, yo.
True. And probably, I don't want to say the most famous, but
one of.
Probably the most badass final girls ever, if not the most.
Right. Well, yeah. I was just going to say, like, that gives a great narrative to the story, how she's not even, like, the main character until almost, like, the last third of the movie, when she has no choice but to step up and become that main character. So when the movie starts, Tom Skerritt as Dallas is a very good captain for the most part. Yes. And you also have Kane, who's a very good number 2, who unfortunately succumbs to his scientific interests and becomes fodder. But like everybody, it feels like it's an ensemble cast that eventually comes down to an individual final girl kind of situation, which I don't think I've seen a movie quite like that, because usually when you get to the typical horror movies with final girls, they're usually the most prominent one of the bunch, and they always stand out, and they frame it as this is the girl to follow. In this movie, they frame as everybody has something to follow. So you're not always entirely sure who's going to be next, what's happening with that person, what's going on in a scene that we're not watching right now. What the hell is Ash up to? But then what's Dallas doing while he's running around the air ducts? And then it's just the way it kind of flows and builds to Ripley taking over, exerting authority, contesting authority, really taking control of the situation, then trying to escape the ship. Like, that's such a great arc for her character, and I think it's tremendous, and it really gives it extra strength to this movie that is a little bit lacking in the second and the subsequent follow-ups.
Yes, but to that point, and one of the things I think that makes Ripley so much better or more special than Laurie Strode is Laurie was not a hero until she needed to be at the very end, at the last second. She was not a leader. She had no courage. She had no sack whatsoever, for lack of a better term. Ripley does. From the very moment you see her, she does. She is a natural born leader.
Strong, independent woman in 1979. Huh.
Yeah.
You would think they'd never done that before in film.
No, but you know what the shitty thing is Tom Skerritt got top billed, though. That was shitty, but
yeah,
it's not a lack of love for Tom Skerritt. It's just an immense amount of love for Sigourney Weaver.
Well, was she a top billing act at that time? That would be my follow-up question to you. Because if she was not, she would not get top billing on the movie.
No, I suppose not. But were any of these actors, though?
I don't know. Years later, I mean, we know like almost all of these people and half the roles they've ever been in.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Ripley is
should have been top
character. Yes. But she's an amazing character that has backbone, that doesn't need extraordinary circumstances to make her an extraordinary person.
Correct.
she's a badass role model. Like, and she gets the shit into the stick almost as much as Ash does.
Yeah, she just doesn't get any acid on her. She doesn't get chomped on. She doesn't get face hugged. Well, at least not in this movie.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that was off camera between what, 2 and 3?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know we're making references to the other movies. It's because this is basically the granddaddy of them all. This was the first one. And the other ones all play off of this to varying degrees.
Yeah, a lot of their concepts in Aliens that were really cool, like their motion sensors, come from this movie. They invented the motion sensor in this movie.
Yeah.
And they explain it. Oh, we're monitoring molecular density in the room for their, whatever their metabolism was. And everyone's like, sounds sciencey. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love this kind of a movie. It appeals to my science fiction nerd and my horror nerd all at the same time. It's like this perfect blend of everything I would want out of a movie. Maybe that's why I love like Dead Space so much, because Dead Space pays so much homage to so many different things, with clearly the main inspiration being Alien and a little bit of Aliens as well. So easily the first two, but like I loved like Dead Space, space horror. It's fantastic. And it all started with this movie, at least for me anyway.
Yeah, I think
Even
so.
down to the test firing of the engine to kill the hunter in the first Dead Space.
That was fun.
It's so worth every frustration that hunter gave you on a first playthrough of that game. Even in the remake too.
Wait, is that where you freeze them? Oh no, that's okay, yeah.
Yeah, the first time you meet the hunter, you freeze them, you escape. But then the second time, when you ultimately have your last battle with them, you're being followed by a bunch of enemies and you're trying to get him you're supposed to stasis him, freeze him in place, run into the control room, hit the engine to kill it, and incinerate it. To the credit of this movie though, the alien is not incinerated. It's just ejected further into space.
Yeah, because again,
which is completely interesting.
They're silicon-based life forms. They don't burn. Like, it takes quite a bit to get them to actually burn. Like ants, they are built to survive whatever environment that they're put into. They adapt to whatever organism that they're born from.
Yeah.
They're a beautiful species, and that's what Wayland-Yutani wants. But of course, Wayland-Yutani also wants to make them a weapon. And this was the actual message that they sent. Priority 1, ensure return of organism for analysis. All other considerations secondary. Crew expendable. So they're not saying go ahead and kill the crew, which is what Ash took the liberty of doing. They're just saying it doesn't matter. Just bring one back alive.
Yep.
He was the one that, like you said, he wanted to go off on those scientific machinations and have that science experiment there on the ship with everybody.
It's like something gave him the freedom to do so. It's like, oh, damn. If it said crew are expendable, but could, unless absolutely necessary or something like that, they could have maybe given him a little limitation, but it didn't play out like that, which is fine. It's just, man, he got some vague orders and he's like, yeah, fine, bye.
But I love the scene where she's reading this and she leans back in her chair and her head kind of moves back and you see him just kind of smiling, looking at it like he's looking out the window with her. Like, there's a good explanation. Yes, exactly. And then starts beating the bag off of her, tossing her around the room with one hand. And that's when you start to figure out he's an android.
Yeah.
But he tries killing her with the porno mag.
I couldn't figure that out. Like, is he just trying to choke her with it, or was he trying to? Okay.
He was trying to suffocate her by shoving the porno mag down her mouth. And I know people have said it's supposed to be a phallic symbol. It didn't translate well. You can't kill somebody like that. Not really. You have a better chance of giving them a paper cut.
Might as well just snap the neck.
Yes. Or, squeeze, throttle the neck, something.
Yeah.
But fortunately, the engineers come in and Parker cracks him in the head, and it goes clang, and his head goes backwards, and you find out he's an android, and then Parker just lays the fuck into him, and you could tell that he was having a good time doing it.
Oh yeah, he laid into that.
Yeah, so then the next thing you see is this android like put here, parts there, all over the place with blood all over his face.
Synthetics.
Again, also a very phallic symbol, and I'm not quite sure that it translated.
They needed a few more towels.
Can I just say that the bukkake even has a shadow that's dripping behind it? That's ooey bukkake. Gooey bukkake. Gooey gooey.
Too gooey.
Too gooey. And then Parker, like he's next to Ripley, probably my favorite person on the ship. And
Yeah,
he
me
was
too.
taken out so unfortunate, like because he was trying to save Lambert, who's as useful as tits on a boar.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
She's worthless. Lambert is a worthless fucking character. Veronica Cartwright always plays the most worthless characters in a movie that dies
true.
horribly.
Yep, this
Like-
tracks.
Witches of Eastwick. She died horribly, like worse than this, much worse than this.
You just had to remind me of that stupid ass movie.
Love that movie. But so it shows Parker get killed, like it squeezes his head and then, slams its ovipositor into its face. And then you hear Lambert screaming over the loudspeaker. And you don't see her death. You just hear her crying. And then the oh my God, it gets more and more intense. And the longer it goes on, the louder it gets on the fucking surround sound.
Yep.
And you feel that terror without even seeing her death. And you're just like, because that's all that Ripley's feeling too. And they did a really good job making you feel what that character is supposed to be feeling at that moment. It was eerie, beautiful and eerie. And satisfying because Lambert sucked.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Lambert, but I like Parker. It's just too bad not the rest of them could survive much at all. But they did kind of specify like only not everybody could leave the boat on the escape pod. So
yeah, that was the initial thing, wasn't it? Like there was always going to be some people that couldn't make it.
Yep. It's just too bad, like they couldn't blow up the alien on the actual ship when it blew, because that special effect was gorgeous.
It really was. They did a good job on that. Like I said, it was too bright to see the actual fire, and then just kind of, gosh, it's just like looking into the sun, where you kind of got to go like that to cover your eyes from how bright it is to damage your eyes, and they mimicked that with this, and it was a good job.
Yeah.
All
so good. Yeah.
Well, and that was another one of the things that made this movie feel real, is all the scenes and the sets were in confined places. They didn't have a whole bunch of like knobs and lights that didn't mean anything. Everything looked like it had its place in a normal aircraft or boat, what have you.
Attention to detail was very good.
Yeah, it was all very normal feeling. So when it did get to that horrific part, or you got outside and in this space, that's when it felt sci-fi.
Yeah.
So, I liked it for that. I did not realize any of this as a kid, and I was like bored as shit before it even got to the fucking its full.
To the good stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I missed out on this as a kid. I don't regret that necessarily, but golly, I wish I would have seen this before Aliens. But I don't think most parents wanted their kids to see Alien in general. Like,
yeah, probably not. I mean, most of us...
It was a horror.
Yeah, most of us who hadn't even been familiar with the movies got familiar through one of the arcade games. And I loved those rail shooters with the guns attached. That was so dope.
Yeah, they were. The
I
Alien versus
love one of those.
arcade systems, they're not bad to get. Like, you're paying for the actual cabinet itself more so than you're paying for the video game.
Exactly. If I want to play it, I'll track it down. But
yeah, and that's why One Up Arcade, you're not fooling me, motherfucker. Like,
yep.
You're selling me something for twice the price that's half the size.
No, thank you.
The only thing that
Probably
would get
not
me
sponsored by Arcade One Up.
but we could be. They could be the best
We
fucking
could change
thing
our
ever.
tune. You gotta pony up though.
Gotta keep burping. We're cheap people. We'll do it.
You're cheap. Yep. We'll do it.
Loose. I like to call myself loose.
Oh, how much looser do you need to get to show another slide, Kevin?
I got nothing else. I don't
What?
think. Yeah, we got Mr.
That
Light.
is just fine. I mean, the movie is a great movie. It has a wonderful legacy behind it. Got followed up by Aliens, a great sequel. I won't kid or lie on that one. And, you know, it's influenced so much through the years. And with this and like The Thing, these are like two of my favorite early Alien movies from like the late 70s and the early 80s. So totally works for me. Totally loved it. Very well written, excellently acted, and definitely a personal favorite of mine. Got any final thoughts, Kevin, before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I did find that one last slide with the actual hero of the film.
Ooh.
The film, Jonesy.
Jonesy. Marmalade Tabby, just like my boy Ernie.
I love Jonesy. Like, she shits on Jonesy through like the first 3 movies.
Yeah.
But he's such a sweet cat, and he's very protective of her.
Yes.
But when he does see it, or when he sees the xenomorph, he hisses at it, and then it hisses back at him, and the cat's like, all right, that's cool.
Well, they had more of a run-in in the movie with nothing happening between the two than any other character in this movie.
Yes, and like it got to the point where she has to leave Jonesy in a cage with the alien between them.
Yep.
And the cat's just kind of looking back at her like, bitch.
Well, the alien actually gets up close and personal to the cage. And there's that brief little scene. Nothing happens, though, as we end up finding out. Like, the alien just leaves it alone. It's like, oh, you're an inferior creature. I want nothing to do with you. I want your mom.
Right.
Insert mom joke here.
Anyway, yeah, that was going to be a pun. Insert.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you like Alien, you like this clip, you like this review, hit the like button. Comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your memories. I want to hear whatever you got to say about Ridley Scott's Alien. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell notification, follow us for all of our videos. Next week is Aliens, so we got a fun guest joining us, Steve from Everything I Learned from Movies, and Izzy as well. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you all then. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.